Alright, today we're diving into some of the most common myths surrounding ChatGPT. And trust me, some of these might surprise you. From content length issues to the need for perfect prompts, we are busting 7 myths that you've probably heard before. And if you stick around, you'll find out some cool tricks to make the most out of ChatGPT despite its limitations. And this could be big. Not just for those who use ChatGPT daily, but also for anyone curious about how this AI really works. So let's get started with our first myth. ChatGPT cannot follow prompts about content length. A common belief is that ChatGPT can precisely follow prompts about content length. For instance, you might ask it to write a blog article about a topic and specify that it should be 360 words long. We first try, write a blog article about Android versus iPhone and make it 360 words long. Okay, let's copy this, and it only made it 140 words. That's definitely not what we asked for. Now let's challenge it again. Write a blog article about Android versus iPhone and make it 4,000 words long. So it continues to write and write even more, so this seems to be much longer. Oh wow, so this time it's 1,600 words, which is great and much longer, but it's not the 4,000 words we were asking for. And even worse, when we try to write a script for a YouTube video and make it 10 minutes long, it only generates content for about 3 minutes. So this myth is true. ChatGPT struggles with exact content length. And this one is one of its limitations. And it's important to know how to use ChatGPT effectively by being aware of these limitations. I do have a lot of videos on my channel and also courses on my website, linked below. But here's where things get interesting. There are tricks to achieve the correct word count. We'll get to this in a bit. Next up, let's tackle myth 2. You can't trust ChatGPT because it can make mistakes. Another common myth is you cannot trust ChatGPT because it can make mistakes. Well, that's not entirely true. You can actually trust ChatGPT, but you need to learn when you can trust it. When you spend some time using ChatGPT for all kinds of tasks, you'll gain experience and understand when you can rely on it and when you cannot. It's all about knowing its strengths and weaknesses and limitations. For instance, ChatGPT is great for generating creative ideas, drafting content, and answering factual questions within its knowledge base. However, it's not perfect and can sometimes produce incorrect and non-sensual answers. That's why it's so important to really know ChatGPT's capabilities. When you understand when to trust it, it can greatly improve your productivity. So while it can make mistakes, knowing how to use it effectively makes a big difference in your experience. And here's where things take a step further. Let's debunk myth number 3. You need to know how to write prompts to get the best results from ChatGPT. One of the biggest myths I see is that you need to know how to write the perfect prompt to get best results from ChatGPT. Many people believe this and even teach it, but in my opinion, they are overcomplicating things. And here's the way I do it. I love to talk to ChatGPT instead of writing prompts. You saw me before pressing the little microphone and simply talk to ChatGPT. Because its dictation feature is mind-blowing incredible. Here you can see exactly what I just said, and it even saw that I made a mistake that I edited out of this video here. And the reason is simple. Writing takes too much time. When you're talking to ChatGPT, you can interact with it like a good friend. The only thing you need to remember is that your friend doesn't know everything about your topic right away. So you need to introduce the topic and provide some context. People often say ChatGPT needs context to give good responses, and that's true. But giving context while you're talking is so much easier than writing the prompts. Also, assigning a role to ChatGPT can be helpful, but it's not always necessary. If you want an opinion like you would get from a good friend, you don't need to assign a role. However, if you need some specific, like help with coding, then you might tell ChatGPT to act as your developer friend. This approach removes the big hurdle of having to craft perfect prompts and makes using ChatGPT much easier. So if you don't know how to write prompts, just talk to ChatGPT like you would with a friend. Now let's address myth number 4. You need to learn ChatGPT before you can use it. A lot of people think they need to learn how to use ChatGPT before they can even start. And this is a big myth. I see many people hesitating to try ChatGPT because they think they don't have the time to learn it. The thing is, ChatGPT is designed to be super easy to use. All you need to do is install the app, create an account, and start chatting. You don't need any special skills or training. Just start asking questions and exploring. The best thing is to keep the app open and press the button in the bottom right corner to start a voice conversation and talk back and forth. Don't give up and see where it takes you.
Sure thing. What's on your mind today? Anything exciting going on or something you need help with?
Try it for everything in your life. Ask questions, share thoughts, take pictures and play around with them. Listen to stories or even get some motivation. ChatGPT is here to help you with all kinds of areas in your life. So just dive in and start talking. Moving on to myth 5. You can only do writing stuff with ChatGPT. Many people think ChatGPT is just for writing. Wrong. You can use ChatGPT as your everyday assistant for all kinds of things. For example, I use ChatGPT to learn new programs, develop new skills, and even work on my mindset. ChatGPT isn't just for writing. You can communicate with it and assign different roles. It can be your personal trainer, mentor, or an expert on any topic. I've used it to learn Final Cut Pro and Photoshop for video and photo editing. ChatGPT knows all about these programs and can guide me step by step on what I need to do and where to click. And if I don't understand something, I can ask it again, and it will patiently explain without any judgment. ChatGPT is a supporter for all areas of my life, and it can be yours too. So don't limit yourself to just writing. Explore all the ways ChatGPT can help you. And here's where things get even more interesting. Let's debunk myth number 6. ChatGPT uses outdated information. A common myth is that ChatGPT uses outdated information. And while it's true that ChatGPT 4.0 has a cutoff date of October 23, it can still search the web for current information. The easiest way to do this is to simply tell ChatGPT, please search the web for, and then say whatever you want to look up. Whether it's daily news, products on Amazon, or recent information from the last 3 months, just tell it and it will search the web. So don't worry about ChatGPT being stuck in the past. It can keep up with the latest information if you know how to ask. And finally, let's bust myth number 7. ChatGPT has an output limit of around 1,300 till 1,600 words. And while it's true that ChatGPT has a limit of 4,000 tokens, which is roughly 1,500 words, that doesn't mean you're stuck with this limit. Simply tell ChatGPT to divide your desired output into multiple parts. For instance, if you need a 4,000 word blog article, you can instruct it to break it down into 3 or 4 parts. Remember, it may not hit exactly 4,000 words as mentioned before, but by dividing the content, you can get close to your desired length. Here's how you can do it. Ask ChatGPT to write a blog post on a topic and provide some input. Then say, we'll do this in 4 parts. First, write the first part and wait for my feedback. That's important. If I like it, we'll move on to part 2, and so on. This way, your output can exceed the token limit, allowing you to get the comprehensive content you need. In terms of my own experience using ChatGPT, here's what I think. Myth number 1 about the content length: it's all about managing expectations. If you need precise word counts, you'll have to work around its limitations. But if you're flexible and can edit and guide the context, ChatGPT can still be incredibly useful. For myth number 2 regarding trust, the key is familiarity. The more you use ChatGPT, the better you'll get at spotting when it's right and when it might need a second look. Trust it for brainstorming initial drafts and factual information within its training data, but always be ready to double check. Myth number 3 about prompt crafting: while knowing how to craft a good prompt can help, it's not a deal breaker. Just talk to ChatGPT naturally, provide context, be clear on what you want, and you'll get great results. Think of it more as a conversation than a set of commands. For myth 4, you don't need to spend days learning how to use ChatGPT. Just dive in, experiment, have fun, play around, and you'll find it pretty intuitive. The best way to learn is by doing. Myth 5, ChatGPT is not just for writing. Whether it's learning new skills, getting life advice, or simply having a chat, there's a lot you can do. Think of it as your multi-purpose assistant. Regarding myth 6 and outdated information, remember that ChatGPT can fetch the latest information from the web if you ask it to. Don't let the cutoff date of its training data fool you into thinking it's out of touch. And finally, myth 7 about the output limit: work with its strength. Break down large tasks into smaller parts. And this not only helps with managing the word count, but also ensures that content remains coherent and high quality. So, what's the takeaway here? ChatGPT, like any tool, has its quirks and limitations, but with a bit of know-how, you can get a lot out of it. Use it wisely and it can be a game changer in your daily life. I have a lot of videos with practical cases for ChatGPT. I have courses on my website and I have a lot of videos with practical use cases for ChatGPT here on my channel. And you can find them in this playlist here.